This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
How do you earn a living?
I'm a psychic detective, sir.
I was asking a serious question.
Some say Sean Spencer is a phony.
That's not possible.
Is he really legit?
Yeah, of course. I'm here to see my client.
Just how good is he?
I'm filthy good. So good it's stupid.
His abilities? Perceptive.
Thank you. It's very flattering.
His methods?
Here. Ah! Oops.
Disturbing.
Agreed.
Now, what about a sidekick?
No.
Yes. No. Yes. I'm a psychic detective. He just has a magic 8-ball head.
That's baloney.
You're baloney.
This deviant duo is serious about success. Right?
No. Not really. No.
Get caught up in Psych. Saturdays, 9, 8 Central.
Eye on television. Positively entertaining.
I was finding with introducing this to different crowds, it's hard to tell if they like it until you're kind of halfway through it, because some of them are kind of heh, and others are belly aching laughs. And not every episode is the same way, so you never know what you're in for.
Sure.
Yep.
That's an episode that I love, but you found boring and not too amusing. You know, it's hard to read the room.
It's like watching an episode of Mystery Science Theater with a group of people and just listening to the laughter move through the room of which jokes hit. Yeah,
I think it is a very much a MST3K kind of show, where it's like, even if you don't get the reference, you get the gist of what they're talking about. A infamous movie or a scandal-ridden celebrity that they just throw in there.
And I think and so I originally, when I was watching this, because I was watching it as it aired, I was a kid watching it, and,
nice.
Like a few years ago, I went back and rewatched the whole series, and it was nice, like, because like now as an adult, I get all the adult jokes that are in it.
There you go.
References.
I do wonder how much of the 80s, the hyper-referential 80s shit, it like translates to anyone who, wasn't born in the 70s.
I think some of them get it, but there's definitely going to be some where you're like, okay, you were before VCRs and cassettes.
Yeah.
So
the humor is definitely tailor-made for a Gen X, mind frame. Absolutely.
Yes.
Especially when they try to get every other person from American Pie or The Breakfast Club, and you're like, okay. So
I had to explain to my wife who Kurt Smith was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so we have a wonderful all-star panel tonight. We got Josh Duggan back on the show.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for having me.
He wishes he was a detective, but no, he's just good at...
I do wish I was a detective, actually.
Okay, awesome. Even better.
Dead fucking serious. I wish I was a detective. A PI, I don't want to be a cop.
Either way, Dario Argento can put you in one of his gory mysteries. You'll be fine. Before he hits it, Travis Crawford, the film buff himself, is back with a vengeance.
Hello.
Hello. Back from Music Rewind, Stephen Epley.
Happy to be here.
We're going to sing plenty of tunes for you here. Don't worry. Making his debut, Smash Trivia John.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, man. How was life treating you?
You doing fine?
All right. Gamma Analysis podcast for those who want to know. And Fave 5 from fans, Jamie Ray.
That's what she said.
I've heard it both ways.
There's plenty of those jokes on the show. I see what you did there. I'm your host, Sully, and I hope I am not a body in the morgue at the end of this episode.
But Woody would take care of you.
Yes, and my soul would be creeped out for life.
Yeah.
Went from Ghostbusters 2 to this. We're doing a mega episode. Just in time for the holidays, we are talking about what psychos we are. Don't worry, that's the fanboys who happens to be fans of USA Network's Psych. This is another one that is just kind of like The Office. Everyone has seen it in some capacity, but everyone kind of forgets how they kind of got into it. It's always been around since '06. People have seen it just spontaneously versus binged it. It's got something for everybody, but hopefully we can try and kind of establish its place in pop culture. I've been loving how they've been keeping it alive with the podcasts that Jules and Lassie hosts. But for those who don't know, Gus and Sean are two private eyes who may or may not be good at what they do. Watch the show and find out. We got Lassie and Jules, who aren't so keen on their invaluable skills. And then we got Lieutenant Karen and Sean's dad, Henry, ex-cop, and Woody, the coroner. So I'll circle around. Josh, it's been a minute. How would you recommend people encounter this show?
I mean, I think you're probably best served by picking a random episode, 4 or 5 seasons in, maybe.
Yes. All right.
As your gateway rather than
from the top.
Yeah, rather than starting at the top. It's not that season 1 doesn't work. It's just
they weren't there yet.
And I think
Sean actor admitted that himself. He's like, we were there, but not quite. But we were comfortable, so that worked.
But yeah, I think you're best served by sort of not dissimilarly from if you're trying to get into SVU. I think you would do the same thing where you pick a fucking random episode. I mean, of the first 12 seasons, seasons 2 through 12. But if you're doing SVU, you'd want someone to watch like a Neil Baer season episode to see what the show is capable of being. But
season 8, they had a wonderful Law and Order reference where they're like, bad guy starts to run. He's like, oh, is this an SVU episode? Just ran.
We just watched one where Liv was like winded and complaining about being old.
Now she needs these two to just make a cameo on there. So Jamie, you've been going through various sitcoms with your daughter, and she's a great wingman, and she.
Thank you.
I love how you guys tease each other with trivia, and it's like, how do you know this much? So John, the Gamma Analysis Chief in Command, how did you get into the Sean and Gus adventures?
I don't know exactly what actually started getting us to watch it, but I watched the show as it aired week to week with my family as a kid, and I just absolutely grew to love the show.
Lovely. Yeah, my sister definitely got us into this. Like, I would see ads for it where they would do little bumpers where it made it look like they and Adrian Monk from the show Monk were talking to each other. But I think it wasn't until my sister was like, I hear this really funny. Some kids in theater class recommend this. And sure enough, it's just, if Bones or one of the CSIs isn't on, that was on. And it's just like, how did they even construct such a wacky mystery? And so, Travis, how would you recommend people get into this comedic mystery show?
I mean, I'm kind of the same mindset of like, just pick an episode from sort of somewhere in the middle, start there. Anyway. Unless you're like me and you're crazy and you just will watch a show start to finish. Like, I've watched the entirety of this series at least 3 times front to back.
Oh, lovely.
And watched all the movies. I grew up huge into murder mysteries. Like, I've said this on a few different shows before. If my house were to catch fire, the only things that I would make sure got out of this house would be the dog that's snoring behind me right now. And I have a copy of the complete works of Sherlock Holmes from Arthur Conan Doyle that was given to me as a kid, published in like 1928 or 32 or something like that. And I would make sure that book got out, and that's it. Like, I grew up reading those. So I was just predisposed to loving murder mysteries. And this was like, take that and also make it funny.
Totally.
And use that formula. And so, yeah, like, just anywhere. I mean, you can pretty much pick just about anything, and you're probably going to enjoy it.
Have any of you ever been tempted to get any of the DVD packs where apparently they have their own MST3K kind of commentary over it, which is still kind of meta. You got a comedy show and they're making fun of themselves.
Has anyone read any of the books?
Wait,
I have not, but I'm going to be
there's
looking for
books.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I knew there were monk books. I didn't know there were psych books.
I mean, I got books for Homeland in the unit. I had no freaking clue that
they're psych books. Yep.
for everyone, or just 13 and above, or.
I mean, it's very much the same tone of the show.
Oh, okay,
you know?
so it's just 10, just 10 and up.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, so Steven, where do you recommend binging the show? You know, it's on Peacock, it's on Prime, and it's on.
Well, I've been watching it on Peacock off and on.
Every cable channel.
I came to the show a little weird because I didn't know about it. I was overseas for the late 2000s. I didn't know the show existed.
But yeah, Gus was a good segue because he's supposed to be the straight man, but yet he's got a weird upbringing as well.
Yeah, and anytime
he doesn't know who his
dive
dad
into
is.
Yeah.
His dad keeps changing. It's weird.
Yes, and there's that Scooby-Doo kind of logic where they love to yell and lose their shit every.
Yeah.
Come on, son. The amount of unpredictability I think is definitely a key factor.
Oh, for sure. Because I mean the strength of the show, because I mentioned it with James and Dule and their chemistry, but the strength of the show, the writing it's about relationships.
Yeah.
And those are always strong and growing and evolving. And that's what made the show work and made it continue to work, because the gag of being psychic but not really being psychic, that can wear thin. And they kind of noticed that because you could see the way that whole bit evolved as the show went on. But the backbone of it was Sean and Gus. It was Sean and his dad.
And then the Rashomon style, you know.
Yeah, it was all of that kind of stuff.
That
and it was
Foley will get stuck in your head after a while.
Well, Gus and the Blueberry too.
Oh,
yep, Gus and the Blueberry. That's a great relationship right there.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, what new car is Gus gonna crash?
Like all of that, and that's what made it work, and why it's rewatchable too.
And they
like that's
change
why I
their
can go back to
office
it.
every season, just as they're getting comfortable. There's something.
That's why it's nice to watch, say, from the beginning to the end, and you see the evolution of the lie, that the show is based on the lie, and everyone's different takes on the ethics of that. The dad is, I won't cover for you again, but he does. He's still the dad, and he's got to.
I just had to have my moment to just tell you.
I'm against this, but I'm going to keep helping you anyway. and even though everyone gets comfortable with it, it starts to bite him in the ass over time.
Yeah, I mean,
he almost loses Juliet over it.
The episode post Vegas. The whole episode following that is just so dramatic, but it needed that just to remind him, hey guys, no more pranks.
Well, also, I mean, there have to be stakes at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
For a show that largely doesn't have them for the main characters.
You can only bring Yang back so many times.
There's one big central fucking lie here that, like, I don't know. I mean, you kind of have to address it at a certain point.
Yeah.
And what I loved is that they were able to, without it destroying the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Because you also had the will they won't they of Sean and Jules for a long time.
Sure.
That can wreck a show, but it didn't here because
I think
even though they get together,
the actors dated in real life, so I think that helped too.
I mean, that helps too, but they were able to make the connection because there was still the conflict of Sean's lie underneath it. So they didn't lose that by changing their dynamic.
Absolutely. Instead of they have to be here because every other show has done it that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, Steve Franks, he's had his own indie band. He comes up with the catchy theme song, but previously he was known just for writing an Adam Sandler movie, Big Daddy. And I would like to see if he wants to do some other comedy shows in the future, or if this is it. Just do a psych movie every 5 years.
Yeah,
I would assume he does rewrites too. That'd be my guess. Just because he has that like punch up. Well, but he has the punch up, the punch up ability that like I think is probably marketable, like as far as just doing like a punch up pass for movies and stuff.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Sure.
Craig Turk, who co-created the FBI franchise previously, was working the David E. Kelly production company, and same kind of deal. He learned all his rewrite tricks from there. Like, so it is. He even rewrote politicians' speeches. So it's funny just seeing how many of these writers wear so many hats.
Josh Whedon got started doing punch ups and
on Speed and
adding humor to bigger scripts.
Absolutely.
Tarantino,
baby. And it is funny how he wants to disown certain stuff. I'm like, dude, those references are yours. Oh no. Oh. And I've never heard any crew member or director complain about their time on the show, so I think that's cool, because you hear about it everywhere else where so-and-so creatively got, fired, or so-and-so didn't get the show, so was told to please leave at the end of whatever season. But it's so funny.
You hear about Castle and what a fucking nightmare that was.
Oh yeah, the leads hated each other, and so they're just like,
oh yeah. I mean, I knew people who worked on it. Like, it was.
That was that bad. Jeez.
Yeah, the person I knew who worked on it was like, never meet your heroes.
That's a bummer.
I did some work on Queen of the South, and everybody was pretty much, let's get paid. Like, that's not a great. Yes, we do this for money, but when it's all it is, you're not tempted to do a good job if you just know. It's kind of like going to class, but you're going to get a good grade just by being there versus your work that you turn in at the end of the day.
It translates to the screen too.
It will. It'll be too robotic or static, and
kind of like Bruce Willis's roles in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I was really saddened when I found out that whole Ponzi scheme, how those guys were messing around with Wall Street money, and people thought they were legit because they were co-producers on hit crooked cop and war movies, and it's like, there's basically De Niro and Freeman and Pacino will always be in these awful movies, and Willis unfortunately was in those movies because he didn't know where he was. I'm like, that's awful.
It is a shame.
And they started out okay, and then by movie 5 I'm like, kill me now. He just doesn't want to be here. These movies aren't very watchable. That these are the kind of junk I would expect from Seagal or Eric Roberts, not previous A-lister, just
yeah.
And I think that's just it too. I mean, again, we've talked about all the different gags and how it was always trying to be as fresh as they could, but kudos to them for not having it be reliant on just who is the crazy person we're going to solve a case for.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, then it was always funny when it was just, sometimes you get an X-Files type ending where you're just like, yeah, that's just out there. But it's meant to be. It's funny.
Yeah, I can't think of an ending that to me was not earned. I mean, the stories were well written enough that the twist, or not that you would have predicted it often. I mean, you're not seeing what Sean's seeing as a, to the minute detail, but you believe it. It's written well enough that you believe it, that the twist or the ending is usually earned. And none come across my mind on the top that I would say that, that ending didn't hit with me. I loved them all, really.
Right. I just, sometimes they would keep it a little mysterious as kind of a wink, wink, instead of, like you say, where you're like, where did that come from?
Which is it's an easy trope to fall into with murder mysteries, is to just have the, introduce the new character right at the end, and that's who did it, or whatever it is. Like,
don't do that.
No.
We'll return after these messages.
If you like small town mystery, crazy news, and wild history, then the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast is for you. Each week, Josh Mills and Wayne McCarty bring you the absolute best Florida has to offer. So if you're looking for a show that's safe for the family, but funny enough to help you escape everyday life, then listen to the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast. That's Florida Men, plural, on Florida Man podcast.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win. On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
The Jacked Up Review Show podcast is honored to be part of the Blind Knowledge Podcast Network. Join anytime, talk the talk, and enjoy yourselves. There's something enlightening for everyone with this crowd of cool cats. Check them out. And yeah, you just, if they were to do any other like downright parody one, like it'd be funny if there were just like some loose like Breaking Bad references. Like they don't have to have any actor necessarily, just like have it be just like literally the story from top to finish and just do another wacky plot twist. Like when you see these actors, they did good at just, like you say, making it be very fleshed out as opposed to who's available in Canada, you know. And just kudos to all the, like you say, the one-offs. It's like you actually want to see the characters come back, or I mean, kudos to any of them, because it's so hard to find your voice. There's already a competing genre, and even people who didn't like mystery shows were watching this. They're just guffawing. And
I mean, it's more a comedy to me than a mystery show.
Absolutely,
yeah. Like the mystery is kind of secondary to just like going along for the ride and watching Sean give Gus a different nickname or a different fake name. You know, like
I mean, if anything, that's what it has in common with Letterkenny and especially Always Sunny. It's like it's just an excuse for them to do something
ridiculous. Yeah.
Anything for comedy. Anything.
Well, because you've got to do something to stand out.
Yeah.
And you can't just being a comedy would be one thing. Just being the mentalist would be another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Take those two things, put them together with incredibly clever writing, and you get a show that can last 8 seasons and 3 movies.
Bingo.
And you still enjoy it and talk about it. Like that's, but it all has to start at the top and it all has to be written well. And that's what the show did.
Oh yeah. And I think as well, what really helped as well was the heart that we had with this. That I think a lot of these crime procedurals did not have, and the meta-ness of it, of how they like
too cute.
A lot of these other ones, it was just simply, we have this one guy, he has special powers, ours to be good at being at solving crimes. While this, they made sure you knew from the beginning, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. Sean's not going to let anyone down until he lets them down, but it's for a totally different reason, you know? And it was fun seeing him learn how to be an adult when, his dad was never there with him, you know?
Yeah, towards the end where they were really laying it on thick about how he is, a moocher, more or less. He lives off everyone else.
Yes.
And it slowly starts to sink in.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't they do a Jerry Maguire type parody? I need you to complete me or some shit like that. He did something kind of like that, which felt inspired by every feel-good comedy.
Maybe. I don't remember, but it would fit the tone.
They're just so good at those cold opens too. It's like, this is what's happening. Oh my God. Nothing's changed with the crew. Everyone who helms the movies are people who've been there since day one, so Brad Turner, who's done a lot of suspense, I think has done some episodes. It's just, I mean, whatever they do, I just know I'm going to be down. It's not going to be something just like, a movie like that's already done that, or you have to have seen this movie in order to get these jokes. If Sean were to take over a convention, it wouldn't be derivative of something else that's done that, Man, I feel like we've killed it, guys. We've buzzsawed it. We've psyched out.
You guys came hard with the trivia, man.
Some good trivia too. Yeah, I would like to see. Just keep experimenting. Just keep having fun with it instead of just we did that just cause.
Right. Cash in a check.
Right. And, I mean, and kudos to them for referencing other stuff that the actors have done. It's just like you say, it's a gift that keeps giving. The people who I've seen just don't like Psych, or just those who just kind of, I don't know. It seems like they were expecting something different. That's kind of what I've only noticed in recent years, or they just didn't care for the humor. They're just picky. So, and that's fine. Really... You can be picky if you want. It's interesting just seeing.
You're wrong. But you can...
I haven't really seen anybody who really dislike Psych.
I've never seen anyone
but I
just
have
goes, I hate this show. You know, I've never seen anyone go
but
worst
I
of all
have,
time.
but I do have a thing where I've noticed a lot of people, and I've tried to get a lot of people to watch Psych, but it seems to be really hard to get people to watch it. Has anybody else noticed that?
Yes, especially with Community fans. I'm like, oh, come on. This is two sides of the same coin. Come on.
I'm like, I know you would love this show. Why do you not want to watch it?
I do this with my uncle all the time. He'll want to watch a documentary and I'll suggest something funny. He's like, there's nothing funny on TV. I'm like, fucking bullshit.
I run into the same thing where I've recommended it to people that I know would just devour the entire series. But I don't know if it's maybe the fact that it's a procedural. You know,
There's a bit of that. I think people are just hesitant to get into something, and the older it gets, they're more like, I just want to do one and done. I'm like, but you can still do one and done. And if you like it, then you can watch it all from the beginning and get all the jokes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is funny how I've been rewatching, you know, I'm sure Jamie knows this. I've rewatched some of the Star Trek shows from the beginning a few years back, and it was fun where once you get to the better seasons, now you can watch the seasons before they find their voice and you can enjoy that more now knowing where it's going to go forward. But then there's other shows where you don't get that. You're like, skip, you know, instantly. That season just, other than the pilot, it just doesn't work. And even then, season 1, like we said, it's slow, but there's still some goodies, you know? So, I mean, it's hardly one that I can think of where it just, the actors were, you know, goofing off or the writing was weak. You know, it was just one of those, it was just warming up and then slowly it overtook us.
Yeah, like, I don't think there's a bad season of Psych. There's just seasons that got better.
I can't think of any where they just, I mean, we talked about the endings. We can't think of any where you're like, oh, they didn't even try with the case or the jokes. But
And
it's
they're
just always
bringing
comfort.
something fresh.
Yeah. Keeping it fresh. They had their sandbox and they made all the sandcastles they could.
Oh, two things that we haven't brought up that I remember really liking the psych outs at the end of episodes for those who actually watched it when it was airing. They would have just an extra funny scene, and then also there's no way to watch them anymore, or at least not legally, but the animated adventures of little old Sean and Gus. Any of you ever
that's
seen
right.
those?
About those.
There was like a young Sean and Gus web series too, I think.
Yeah.
I miss the old, like when the seasons were about to start airing, the old like video promos that they would do, like the Hall & Oates one.
Private Eyes.
Yeah, but Ebony and Ivory. Yeah.
I've seen those commercials.
Private Eyes one is so good.
I saw those
so good.
Well, like years after, like, oh, these
Even
are
the trailers for the show are just amusing. He's like, especially when it was on Ion TV every week.
But once they're able to do once they're able to really lean into like, no, we're just this weird fucking show over here. Like,
you can't define us. Just watch us. We're on. We'll entertain you.
I mean, the Private Eyes one's so damn funny.
Yes.
I always enjoyed the commercials where they would cross them over with other characters
Monk
from with you.
Who else did they cross over with? Did they cross over with Burn Notice? I think
Burn Notice,
That's like
Royal Pains, Ains, White
Burn Notice was
Collar.
sometimes on after this. So I'm like, talk about a change of pace. You go
Oh,
from
man.
comedy to just flat out camp. Oh man,
I'm pretty sure I loved all of the Blue Skies Eyes shows from the USA Network.
yeah, White Collar was there that time. Yeah, it was just fun. And then I think they got spoiled on. We don't know what else to do. I think there was one with D'Onofrio from Criminal Intent in one. It was more like they edited it together and make it look like they're having a conversation. They're not, but it's just funny because they had good editors back then doing bumpers. They should do more of those just funny ads because it was almost kind of like Deadpool in a way, where the trailer is the character in and of itself before you get to the main.
Now, did anyone else actually watch the premiere when it premiered?
No,
I did not.
Okay.
I wish I did.
Because I did,
No.
but
You did?
like I'm a fucking weirdo. Like I know I watched it because like I'd been watching Monk as it was airing, but I fell off of Monk eventually. Like I didn't finish out Monk. But like because of whatever, I mean I had cable at the time, I had DVR, but like
it benefits from the DVR.
I was watching this from the moment it dropped, and I was like, this is a weird show, but I didn't tell anyone about it. Like, I mean, I liked it, but I was like, what am I gonna? Who am I gonna tell?
Yeah, kind of a lot of lowbrow stuff. You'd see like free respectable movies and like reruns of one of their popular shows like Wings, and then you're just like, oh, and now there's this. And
yeah, and I mean, this was pretty early on in USA doing. You know, I mean, not that they weren't in the 90s, they were doing original programming, but it was
like Adult
Silk
Swim.
Stockings and Duckman.
It was even crazier like than Adult Swim, where you're like, what did I just watch? Was that an acid dream? You know, and I'm sure Jamie will appreciate this. To quote Shrek, this is an onion. It's got layers.
Yeah,
I just swallowed.
Oh man.
You certainly they're doing a donkey movie.
I did hear that. Yeah.
Are they really?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy's back, baby.
Just keep mining. Dig, I guess.
Dig.
They keep making money though.
Oh, you mean like the donkey in Shrek? I thought you were talking about something a lot more disturbing. Sorry.
Not a donkey show, a donkey.
No, David. Did they? I mean,
well, no, I thought they were like going big and going from show to movie.
Travis mentioned the David Fincher connection. Did they ever do any Seven references on here, or just funny, just mystery movies?
I mean, I can't imagine they didn't, but I
think there was a
I'm not
Sixth Sense
recalling
reference,
one.
But yeah, I don't know. Every once in a while, they would bring up just like movie. I think there was a Crying Game reference. They would bring up movies that had like outrageous like endings that divided moviegoers every once in a while. There's got to be a Silence of the Lambs reference in there somewhere.
I'm sure.
Gus does something weird with his lips.
I would love one of the Psych movies to reference a modern and murder mystery movie of Knives Out.
There you go. They got to. Just have a detective who's not Texan come in and make fun of that. Just think.
Ryan Johnson, the director of that, he has a relationship with Peacock since he
you're right.
Does Poker
That's
Face.
true.
They could have him direct a Psych movie. I bet that would be really fun.
I think his rate's probably a little too high.
Probably.
If anything, they can just name drop him and just show how, hey, he does a divisive Star Wars movie. He does all these indies, and now he does the Knives Out franchise, which is a hit.
If they were going to have him do an episode, it needed to be back in like 2008 when he was doing
before
Breaking Bad episodes or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That when you mentioned Risu, was just the first thing that came to mind is Seven.
Yep.
And I'd like to see them do something of that nature, but in a comedic way. Obviously not
right. The detectives
sloth,
but that dark.
Yeah, not that dark. But I want to see him interact with two detectives on the San Francisco PD that are carbon copies of Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt.
Right. One of them's about to retire.
Exactly. And so it'd be like throw a psychic detective in the middle of Seven.
They could even imitate the one classic line, the effing guy's not Yoda. They could do a play on that. I mean, hell, William Shatner did a parody of that where he was playing both the detective and the killer for the MTV Awards. It'd be funny. But
like in Seven, you have the killer show up. I'm the one you're looking for, detective.
Yeah. Also, then it's got to be. It should be Carrie Ells. He should be.
Or the guy from The Mentalist that you mentioned.
Oh, there you go.
Baker. Where that,
someone famous.
And then it's a head-to-head psychoanalyst matchup.
There you go.
Now, was Simon Baker just forever like contractually obligated to just be on CBS shows? Like, can he leave CBS or like will they unchain him from?
He's been up there since like 2012, so I think he's now.
I think there's a new Simon Baker show every single year on CBS.
I haven't seen him.
He signed one of those Tim Meadows SNL contracts. That's what happened.
All right.
Looks like as of recently,
like to
he's
meddle on
mostly
this.
just been doing movies.
Yeah, I've seen him in a few horror mystery movies. So I mean, I think he'd be up for it. I'm sure he has a sense of humor. He has to if he's top rich. Let's see. Let's just see them do something. I mean, and definitely bring back a few characters. This is a one-off or something. Just have them come up with their own fictional like unit that does psychic-based crimes. That's just making fun of how every show has to have a spin-off. Just something else meta.
The Mentalist ran for 7 seasons. That's a good run.
Yeah, that's a good run. Hell. Have the guys who work on The Closer do it. They do a lot of comedy on that. It'd be pretty hard to kill whatever they got that's pure gold. I mean, they're pretty good at just testing out their jokes, I think, just from the writing sessions to just filming it. It's not a victim to a bad film set or using lesser takes in the editing room. They really do polish everything they can.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, I will definitely get the complete Pineapple collection sometime when the DVD gets discounted. I know not everyone does DVD anymore, but I got to hear the commentary tracks.
Yeah.
It'd be worth it just for that. Yeah.
Totally. I don't know if they ever had any special features or anything, but where do you go from here? You got an 8-season show. You're going to have 8 movies and you have a musical special. I mean, how else would you want your show to go?
So it's a nice legacy to have. That's for sure.
Yeah, perfect. This is the time where I plug everyone's private agencies. John, what do you got cooking?
I'm the host of the Gamma Analysis podcast. I review mostly a bunch of geeky films, but occasionally I do some stuff that's not really geeky. As of the night that we're recording this, I just released a review of Deadpool 2. Particularly though, the Once Upon a Deadpool
the
version
Christmas
of it.
episode, nice the version.
Which is honestly my favorite version of the film, just because of even though it's PG-13 and not R-rated, it's so hilarious to me because
it makes fun of how it's a cut down version.
Because it's they framed it like the Princess Bride,
yes.
and that just made it really hilarious to me. And I just released that episode tonight. I'm
sweet.
That's what I've been doing.
Lovely. Perfect. Jamie, what do you got cooking?
Oh man, we just started on Complete Disarray, my other show.
Yes.
We just started with a friend of mine, Nelson, from Average Home Theater Reviews, and we're going season by season of Tales from the Crypt and picking out our favorite episodes and talking about those.
It's so funny you mentioned that because we just had Dads from the Crypt back on. And if you want to check out their work, check out the How Not to Make a Movie podcast, which analyzes how Bordello of Blood was a disaster on set and on screen. And they have so many of the guys who've been associated with that franchise just throughout the years, just everybody. Romero's protege, John Harrison, to Stephen Hopkins, to other genre filmmakers who, mind blown, is like, I wouldn't get this from their IMDb, you know?
Let's check that out. And then every Friday we drop new episodes of Fave 5 for fans.
Yes,
next episode is going to be, hell, I don't even know what it is.
You're still going through Picard again on the rewatch. That's fun.
Yep. We're fixing to start season 2 of that.
Always love having your geeky pals. Like, you guys pick each other's brain, and I always love when one of them breaks your rule and you nag them. You're like, I see what you did there. I do. Play nice, people. Man, Steven, Music Rewind, you are always you are doing a deep cut of a deep cut. You are.
Music Rewind. Yeah, we
even the B-sides get a analysis. It's fun.
My show is a guest will come on my show and bring an album they want to talk to, an album that is special to them. That's
so hard to analyze certain albums, but there's those type where that's their bread and butter.
It's amazing. I'm going on 4 seasons now, but I am able to listen to a lot of these albums as a first time run for me because they were not necessarily in my wheelhouse, or
they weren't in college,
or they were just, maybe I knew a couple tracks of. Yesterday I recorded with Brian Colburn of the My Weekly Mixtape podcast, and we did an album, Tom Petty, Into the Great Wide Open, which
that's a great one.
I knew maybe 3 tracks off it, but as a whole, I had never given the album the attention that it deserves. So we talk about the album. We just geek out about the album for an hour, and I asked the guests, how they discovered it, why is it special to them, and
much like the TV rewatches, it gels even more now that you got the complete picture.
It's a really cool project I've had going on for a couple of years. Recently, we did a poll out there for the top albums of all time. So I'm kind of releasing that in spurts.
There we go. That'll be some deep. That will be a neat cut.
the voting is closed. I've had over 100 results of stuff, and I've been compiling and releasing the results. Currently 500 through 101 is available. If you go to musicrewindpodcast.com, you can see those current results. And they are interesting to say the least. And the top 300 is damn competitive.
One of the polls you shared, I was like, no, they didn't. Okay.
It's going to make some people angry for sure. But the people that replied and wanted to vote, I mean, you're talking from age 16 to 80, so they're interesting opinions out there. I love it.
Travis, what do you have on the movie roundup?
Well, so I do a show, Wait You Haven't Seen, somebody watching a movie for the first time every time. I just did one on Predestination. I got a couple. I've got a couple good ones coming up. Movie that I'd never heard of before, Dead and Breakfast. I've got somebody want me to watch it.
Good one.
David Carradine.
Because they said the person that's coming on said they like it better than Shaun of the Dead. So that was what they used to hook me in. We'll see how it goes. I'll have.
Can't we like
I'm
it
in the
all
midst
and
of
hate it all? Man.
Yeah, probably. I'm also in the midst of booking guests for my yearly celebration of all things Nicolas Cage. Every August, I only do Nick Cage movies.
Crazy hair.
I used my my anecdote on Jeopardy to talk about Nicolas Cage.
Perfect. He's a treasure, and
a national treasure.
National treasure.
Yeah.
Indeed.
An overactor.
I wish I was wearing out of. It's mega acting. How dare you?
Mega overacting. There you go.
No, just mega. No over.
I didn't say he was bad, but I just say he's overacting.
But yeah, I do that, and I also do a show on old TV. Anything pre-2000 we cover. And right now we're doing. We have 4 hosts, and we rotate. So we do a topic, and we each lead an episode, and we're doing Fox Kids Afternoon.
Oh man!
So we talked about stuff like the Beetlejuice cartoon. Ran on there for a little bit. I'm bringing up the Tick animated.
Oh damn!
So that's another fun one. It's called Those Were the Days. So yeah, we've got great stuff going for both of those shows right now.
All the others.
Yeah. Oh yeah, pre-Toonami. But we pick a different topic all the time, and it's always fun to try and then figure out the episodes to do for that. So that one's a lot of fun.
Josh, hit it away. Dum.
So Munch by Benson's always going. That's weekly.
Driving your co-host crazy. He's like, I gotta watch this episode again.
We're 219 episodes in as of right now. By the time this drops, I figured out today that if just miraculously no more seasons were to air of SVU, we still wouldn't be done until November of fucking 2030.
You got a decade.
Oh God, so many episodes of SVU. So Munch by Benson's every week. That's an irreverent SVU podcast where we talk about the episode and then rate it in terms of how good the episode was, how good the guest stars were, how problematic it was. The more problematic, the better, and how many lives were destroyed. The depth and breadth of lives ruined. Also, the more the better.
You also do some cool fact checking, like, hey,
we do weird dives into all kinds of shit. Like if they talk about a Knicks game, we're like, oh, they're lying. That Knicks game didn't happen, or whatever. Like we will, or the Cochabamba Water Wars. We'll go into the Cochabamba Water Wars. But we also have a second podcast, Unkind Rewind, where we do a different guest each kind of rotation. It's like a 2-week cycle, and the premise is basically we do a movie that our guest grew up liking but hasn't seen since they were young. Basically since their prefrontal cortex developed. Times change, and movies don't always age well.
Yeah, plenty of those.
Yeah, there are a lot of those. And so we get a list of movies from our guests, and then we do like a pre-interview where we ask them what they remember about the movie, and then play back their memory of the movie and what their expectations are and all that after they've rewatched it. So
yeah.
But that's Unkind Rewind. It's fun. Season 2 should be up.
Yep.
Season 2 should be dropping when this drops, I presume.
Yes.
We're partway through, or we're most of the way through season 1 right now, but there'll be like 6 weeks off in between. So
perfect. Hey, you guys all brought it, and speaking of unwinding, I mean, I feel like that's kind of what we did here, where it's just like, it's a comedy show, but it's not just any comedy show. It's just it's so down to earth in the most quirky way.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Well, I just want to thank you, Cam, for having this on.
Yeah,
it's been
thanks.
a lot of fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. But thank you all. It's always fun coming out of our comfort zone in a way, Talking about something we all like, but also trying to even just go through words that sometimes near impossible to describe what the topic is.
Cam, do you have any Twilight Zone episodes in your back catalog?
We actually have those coming out where that was gonna be split up. The best part we did probably this year was an Indiana Jones ranking. We just said, how many boulders out of 5 are you gonna give this, or are you gonna just give it the snake pit? And we split it up into other things, talking about the comic books and the video games, and it was really a delight.
Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
We did bring it up, and that was a fun one where you want to talk nitpicking. It was like, yeah, there's no damn way he met Pancho Villa. There's no damn way. Some history classes show those episodes, so that was a more fun. It's like, okay, take it with a grain of salt. It is fun seeing some of the guest stars on that show. There was Daniel Craig was an evil colonel in one. It's just like, man. Well, very nice, guys. Very nice. Man, you rocked it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Always a delight. And everyone stay safe out there.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up